Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about my review for the film Wonder Woman, specifically the story of Wonder Woman. And this is a very unusual review, and I also want to say right now there are major spoilers for the Wonder Woman film in this review. And also, I did not see the movie. So this review is my review of the story of Wonder Woman. Now, how do I know the story of Wonder Woman if I have not seen the film? Well, Warner Brothers, who is releasing Wonder Woman, has allowed hundreds of critics to see it, and those critics the vast majority of those critics are putting up non-spoiler reviews. But I am a huge fan of spoiler reviews, so I have listened to 2 spoiler reviews for this, and those 2 sources are Skyrius Workshop and also Galaxy Beyond Media. Both of them posted spoiler reviews for all the content in the Wonder Woman movie. So I am now aware of the story of the Wonder Woman movie, and those are my 2 sources. So I am reviewing the story as it has been revealed through YouTube reviewers who were allowed to see the movie early by Warner Brothers. So that's my review. Now, if you think that's weird, you're 100% right. That is super weird, but I think it's super awesome. It is really absolutely, this review that I'm about to do is only possible because of the new, absolute time-based, super immediate media that we have developed through online streaming channels, right? And it is absolutely amazing, and I am just thrilled about this because one of the things is I had a tremendous amount of enjoyment listening to the spoiler reviews for Wonder Woman, and I've also enjoyed seeing all the trailers, and I'll tell you right now, it's so clear to me that that movies are just far more enjoyable than they used to be, right? So if you're excited about a movie, right, you get to see no less than half a dozen trailers, right? You can listen to online streaming video channel commentators talk about the movie for months or even years before the movie comes, and then you can get reviews for the film even before it comes out, spoiler or non-spoiler, for the week of, which are pretty detailed and give a lot of sentiment and a lot of there's enjoyment just hearing somebody else talk about the film. I really very much enjoyed that, and it's just really incredible, and I really think it's pretty awesome. Just the how robust our enjoyment of these films can be even before they came out. I will go even further. I'll tell you right now, I have never watched the movie Deadpool. I'm absolutely fascinated by that movie. I watched no less than 50 to 100 hours of commentary on that movie, which I enjoyed watching the commentary on. So, you can even enjoy a movie that you don't even see now. It's crazy, right? So, without any further ado, here is my review of the story for the Wonder Woman film. Okay? All right. And final warning, major spoilers for the movie. Okay. All right. So, in order to get to all my points, I need to break out my old memory palace trick. So, I am thinking of Steve Martin smashing a clay jar against Patrick Stewart's forehead as he stands on a Luden's cough drop, right? They are standing on a glass ceiling, but when the shards of the clay jar break, they break the glass ceiling these 2 are on, and those 2 fall down on top of Derek Wildstar, who has a sword on his hip and is holding a roped can of gasoline while he is being hit by Deathlock with a pine tree. All right, so that's my thing. That's my memory palace trick there. So I'm ready. Let's get into it. So I want to talk about the characters. So basically, Wonder Woman, I think the way they did her in this movie She is, the way she is created, she is specifically sculpted by Hippolyta and then given life by Zeus. And I think, wow, that is awesome. That is super cool and awesome. Okay, and I just think, you know, and also the one, and so basically, and of course, so that all comes from Greek, from Greek mythology. So they are firmly establishing that while she is an Amazon, she really is a child of the Greek gods, right? Now, I was disappointed because the movie says that all the Greek gods, except for Ares, are dead, right? Now, that comes from modern movie going. They can't acknowledge gods because just Hollywood is really, really anti-religious, which that gave me a little bit of sadness, but I understand where it's coming from. I'm not expecting pro-religious content from Hollywood. It just a little bit disappointing. And I don't think it had anything to do with the Wonder Woman film. They have that in pretty much everything now. All right, so I think that was really interesting, and I really like. Oh, the other thing I thought was really interesting is they have 3 major action scenes in the film, and I really like the structure of it. They have an action scene on Themyscira. They have an action scene in the trenches of World War I, and they have an action scene against Ares near the end. Okay, and also just to shoot through it real quick. Here's the story. So essentially, Steve Trevor, he is a British spy, and he is fighting, in World War I. And Dr. Poison is creating these gas toxins that are going to be used in World War I. And so he's trying to stop that. His plane crash lands onto Themyscira. And at that point, he meets Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman then decides to go against her mother, Hippolyta. And I skipped one part. We see Diane. She is protected by Hippolyta, but she's trained as a warrior, right? But Hippolyta also wants to make sure that she never has to use that training, like any mother would. Like many mothers would. So basically, at that point, you have so Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor's there. She says, "Hey, I want to help you with this war that you got going on because it sounds like a lot of people are going to die, and also, she believes that Ares is part of the war, right? And Ares is causing this massive war. And so she ignores Hippolyta, ignores all the Amazons, and goes and helps Chris Pine. They go, and she tries to convince the English army to take action against Dr. Poison and to stop this poisonous gas that is being used on civilians, right? Against the Germans, right? So the Germans are really very much put forward as villains in this movie, right? Which I'm totally down with that. I mean, their actions are pretty villainous. Oh, wait, sorry. This is World War I. Were the actions of the Germans villainous in World War I? Better slow my roll there. Okay. Well, anyway, the Germans are put forward as, at minimum, very aggressive in the film. So at that point, you have this situation where, and then essentially, Diane actually goes to the front with Steve Trevor, and she is specifically trying to find Ares, right, who is in disguise. Well, the movie puts forward that Ares is, gives a lot of hints that Ares is this German officer, Ludendorff, but in reality, he is a British officer, Sir Patrick, okay? And another part of the film is, there's a part where Diane is not able, Diane actually goes onto the battlefield, shows all her powers, which are extensive. Her powers are extremely extensive in this movie. She's incredibly fast. She can, block bullets, and she's incredibly strong. All these things, and the reason why is she's a she's a god. So she has godlike powers. I don't think she's specifically a god, but she's certainly the child of a god, right? A deity is a better way to put it. And so then there's a point where she really needs to get to Ares, and they're going to need to, and Steve Trevor realizes that she's really pursuing Ares, and he says, I need to put together a team. And at that point, they put together a team, including a Native American named Chief, and then there's Charlie and Sam. One of them is a drunk sniper, and essentially it's a thief, a smuggler, and a murderer, right? And so basically, Steve Trevor puts together this special team. Steve Trevor, Diana, Wonder Woman, and Steve Trevor's team all go to face Ares. All along, Steve Trevor is still trying to stop the gas attack, right, that is going to happen on more civilians using Dr. Poison's horrible gas, right? And then what happens is Steve Trevor is able to stop a plane that was filled with gas by blowing it up in the air, making it so that it will not harm any civilians at all, or very, very few, compared to like if this plane were to blow up over a populated area. But Steve Trevor is killed. And then Diana, because the man she loves, oh, by the way, there's a consummated relationship, romantic relationship between Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, right? And then at the very, very end, we see Wonder Woman has stepped back out of human activity for a long time because she was deeply upset by the death of Steve Trevor, okay? So we get an establishing movie, it's a period piece, all about, Wonder Woman establishing her powers, establishing her first relationship, and establishing her activity in World War I, okay? All right, so all that is happening, right? And, that's a lot, right? So let me see if what points I'm hitting. So Steve Martin, I did talk about Steve Trevor smashing a clay jar. By the way, Hippolyta crafted Diana out of clay, and then Zeus gave her life. So we hit the clay jar. Smashing it against Patrick Stewart, which was Sir Patrick, who was actually Ares in disguise, right? And he was standing on a Ludin, which was Ludendorff, who was the red herring for Ares. So there's a special red herring in there. Also, I wanted to talk about Diana's weapons, right? So Diana has a lot of equipment. She has a sword. She has a shield. She has her lassos, and she has her bracers. Her bracers are actually used to stop bullets, right? Her shield is used to stop things that are larger than bullets, right? And then her sword is special. When she's given her sword, it is told to her that the sword is a god killer, and that it actually can kill a deity, right? And so at the very end of the movie, she uses Wonder Woman uses the sword against Ares, and it just shatters on Ares. It doesn't do anything. And at that point, Steve Trevor dies, and Diana discovers her real power, which that she herself, Wonder Woman, is actually the deity killer, okay? Not the sword, which is kind of cool, all right? Another piece of equipment in this that Wonder Woman has that is absolutely awesome is the lasso of truth, right? So one of the things is Diana is able to tell that Steve Trevor is a spy because she uses the lasso of truth on him. I think the lasso of truth is one of the coolest pieces of equipment in all of DC or Marvel. It really is. It's amazing. The ability to tell if somebody's lying or not is absolutely invaluable. It's an incredible power, right? And also, there's a scene in the film where Steve Trevor, Diana's getting really frustrated, and she doesn't really know what Steve's motivations are. And he wraps the lasso of truth around himself, and he says, listen, I'm going to take you to the front, and I'm going to form a team, and we're going to go get Ares. And she can tell his intent is absolutely true because he put the lasso of truth around himself. And I thought, that's brilliant, man. That is really a cool idea. So I thought that was really, really very cool. Very, very interesting. So then the other thing is, So all of the stuff I just talked about was covered. And then let's talk about the break through the glass ceiling. So Derek Wildstar with a sword, right? And a roped gas can being hit by Deathlock with a pine tree. So I'm going to talk about 3 things I really liked about the film story, and 1 thing I did not like, okay? So here's the 3 things I really liked. I thought the idea of the sword not being the deity killer and Diana herself being the deity killer, was a great twist. Really, really cool. And I think that's really well written. I really like that a lot. The roped, and then also the roped gas can, right? The rope is the lasso of truth. I think that's definitely one of my favorite aspects. I really like that DC kept the lasso of truth in there, made it relevant to her character, made it prominent, right? And I've always felt it's an incredibly valuable piece of technology, or actually, I'm sorry, not technology. It's a very valuable item, right? And I just love that they treated it so well in the story, and they gave it such an important role, and that somebody used it other than her. Like the idea of Steve Trevor using it on himself to tell Diana, to make Diana believe him. That's brilliant. That's just really sharp writing. And then the gas can, the poison gas. I love that they made this movie about weapons of mass destruction, right? Weapons of mass destruction are horrible things. I think that chemical weapons should have never, ever been created. The idea of making a weapon that is swept across through the wind is just completely inhumane and horrible, and I don't think it should be used against anyone. And it is the use of any type of chemical weapon is just the most worst type of cowardice. And I think our nation should just absolutely not use them in any way, right? It is just most repugnant thing I think humanity has ever created, right? And the fact that they gave her a very clear villain to fight by making the people she's fighting people who created chemical weapons, I think that's brilliant. I think it's really solid. The only thing I didn't like, there were two things. The only thing I didn't like that is significant enough for me to mention, and the reason why I said 3 things I really liked and 1 thing I don't is I'm in favor of this movie. I really want this movie to succeed, and in reality, and the reason why is we should not have had to wait this long for a female superhero movie. I have a wonderful, beautiful daughter, Autumn Garibay. She has really opened my eyes tremendously to being understanding about the feminist mystique and about feminism, right? And it's ridiculous that we've had to wait this long. And so I'm really in the camp for this movie to be successful. I think Gal Gadot, I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious movies. I think Gal Gadot was excellent in those films. And, I'm sorry, she actually used Gal Gadot. I'll start using Gal Gadot as well. Gal Gadot, I think she is brilliant, and I really think it is important that this film does well. I will be going to, by the way, I 100% will be going to see this movie on Saturday with my entire family. So I'm buying 6 tickets to this movie minimum, and my family alone bought over 15 tickets for Moana, right? And so I want to make I want to back up my words with my actions. And so I really want this to be a successful film. And so that's why I have 3 things I like and only 1 I don't. The only thing I don't like is that they killed Steve Trevor. I don't get it. And the reason why is, okay, so, you know, to me, logically, Wonder Woman, a film about Wonder Woman, should be about equality, right? So Wonder Woman uses her skills and abilities, and she's incredibly successful at the end. And Steve Trevor uses his skills and abilities, and he dies, right? You know, like that's not equality. Like, you know, if you're gonna have partners and you know, people who are, you know, striving together, I just don't understand the death of Steve Trevor. So, only thing I didn't like. I'm really excited. I think that it sounds great. I really think this is moving in the right direction. I'm excited to get DC. I'm excited for the DCEU, for the, you know, the DC movies to really get on a good track. I'm very excited that the movie has been reported to be very, very colorful. And overall, I'm just super excited for this to be a successful film. And I'm really excited that DC seems to be on track with this. Thank you.